Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the Douglas School Committee to order on October 2nd at 6:30 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. I'd like to read the Douglas Public Schools mission statement. The Douglas Public Schools offers a diverse learning experience that meet the academic, social, physical, and emotional needs of all of our students. We provide a safe, supportive, and challenging learning environments in which students may achieve academic success and personal growth. Decisions are made in the best interest of our students. I would like to call our student representatives up to us, Vix Greneau and Erin Pascano.
Hi, thank you so much for having us tonight. So just to start us off, we've had a busy September, especially in athletics. The girls soccer are having a great season with 5 wins and only 1 loss. Cross country just returned from Ocean State, which is a statewide meet, also Rhode Island included. We had freshman Trent Fergala take 7th place out of 125 runners. So that's something we haven't seen in many years. So big perk to cross country. We also had a double win with the boys team and the girls team at BMR just yesterday. And volleyball is also having an excellent season with 8 wins and only 3 losses. Now on to seniors. We've also had very busy for our seniors. Celebration Graduation has been very active in their fundraising. They've been selling merch at open house. We had our recent spaghetti dinner, which we raised over $600. And also upcoming this Saturday, we'll be having a booth at Oktoberfest. So very exciting. Senior projects are on the rise, per usual. We have our annual Dig Pink game and also the Kick for the Cure game uprising, so that'll be occurring soon. On to also clubs, very busy. DECA, we've been expanding. We've had more than double the members, which is also very exciting. I think it's record high, actually, that we had since our very beginning of the club, so hoping to achieve far. And additionally, in Student Council, we're having our Stuco Haunted Hallways October 25th. So this is going to be a fundraiser for the Student Council. People will be dressing up. It's going to be a really fun community event. Definitely recommend checking out. And also in academics, we have the SATs hosted at Douglas High School coming up October 16th. So we have many juniors, many seniors busy preparing. And additionally, we also recently had the College Fair at September 27th. Many schools, UMass Amherst, Holy Cross, so students were very excited across all the grades to just engage with the college reps. Also, lastly, I'd like to touch upon how we've had many interests in the STEM field this year, particularly with the Work-Based Learning Alliance, which for those you don't know is a virtual paid internship opportunity. So we have actually had a record high number of students actually engaging in that. We've had many students apply, many students getting through this program, and I've heard very good things about it. Haven't done it myself yet, but definitely a lot of learning to be done, especially in the work industry.
To continue on with clubs, the Science Club held their first meeting last week and discussed about even upcoming projects that they wanted to work on throughout the year. So we're excited to see where they're going with that. The National Honor Society is having their induction ceremony coming up within the next few weeks, and they've started preparations and practicing. Our GSA has reached out to the Safe Schools program, and I'm a student representative for them, and we do monthly meetings to discuss equality and inclusion in our school climates. And next week I am meeting with the MIAA to discuss equality and inclusion within our sports teams here at Douglas High School. In other curriculars, we have had an increase in engineering programs, and particularly aerospace engineering to teach kids about flight and airplane models. A lot of cool stuff.
Excellent. Wow.
Any questions? Yeah. Thank you so much for coming to see us.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Have a nice night.
Moving on to public comment. Is anyone here for public comment? Seeing as there is none, I'd like to move on to its old business.
We don't have any old business.
And moving on to new business.
I'm going to have Dr. Rosenthal come up. I know last week here we introduced some new staff, and he had a staff member who wasn't able to make it, but he wanted this opportunity to introduce.
Thank you. was definitely my fault. I sent out the email prior to the start, so I missed our new special education clerk, Ms. Krovac. Carrie Krovac has joined us. Just want to give you just a little brief background. She came to us from a previous career at Bank of America as an executive assistant. When I reached out to her boss, the CEO over in Bank of America, it was glowing remarks and how sad he was when she left and how she would hire him. He would hire her in a heartbeat if she was willing. So definitely wanted to bring her in, and she lived up to the bill of sales. She has hit the ground running, learned special education law like it's the back of her hand already, mandated timelines, learned the new Power School system. She's done a great job. I also want to thank Lois, who has been training her in these areas. She's been doing a great job with that. So with that, we have Carrie, if you could say hi.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go a little bit out of sequence this evening. We're going to go to the consent agenda and the DESPA union contract vote from October 30th, 2024 to October 29th, 2027.
So in your package, you have a copy of the memorandum, and we have Joanna here, the DESPA union president, and we spent the end of last year, I think we started about January, February, and we finally finished in early September, September 13th. So I think we met about 8 or 9 times, school committee, members of DESPA, and we put together a good, fair contract for it. It was a collaborative process, but in a good process. So I just want to highlight to the committee and the community some of the big parts of it without going through line item by line item, because those of us who are on the committee have already gone line item by line item. So the first thing, major part of it speaks to health and safety, which is paramount for everyone here. And it just really outlines a lot of new and different things that we're going to put in place, but also memorializes some things that we've currently been doing over the past several years. And again, it speaks to having members put in writing whenever an injury occurs. It talks about identifying building reps. It talks about formalizing a formal meeting structure between members of DESPA and building and base leadership and the superintendent, which we've had in place. It talks about if for whatever reason a member gets injured, that they wouldn't be docked a sick day if they have to leave or get sent out in an ambulance that day. We talked about replacing any article of clothing or personal property damaged as a result of something that happened during the school day, and we memorialize the importance of having PPE, personal protective equipment, available. We had to clean up some language, identifying how long a school day is, identifying how people accrue sick time. We were also able to add, which I think is great, sick leave bank language. So in their previous contract, there wasn't an opportunity for a member of the association to apply for the sick bank. So for those watching at home, it's just a mechanism to, if a member runs out of sick days or needs additional sick days as a result of an injury or an illness or something, they have the ability to apply for sick bank for additional days so they don't lose loss in pay. Trying to see what else we have here. Clarified some personal day language. We put some things in there in place for additional work year. We wanted to make sure that we were able to provide professional development to members of DESPA prior to the start of the school year. So we added 2 additional professional development days, paid professional development days, prior to the start of the school year. They only had, I think, 5 paid holidays, and we slowly graduated them up from 5 to, I believe it was 11 total, which puts them in line with what other 10-month bargaining units are getting. Members of DESPA have been gracious to help cover classes when people were out sick, so when we couldn't find a sub, we had them cover, and we're just compensating them a little bit more fairly for what their previous compensation was for covering those classes. We increased longevity from where it was, and we added a longevity. Before it started at 15 years and went to 25. Now it starts at 10 years and goes to 25. And then at the back of your packet, you'll see their wage structure. We did a couple things. I think we went across the board, and this represents a 22% pay increase from year 1 to year 3 in average. Some people are a little lower, some people are a little higher. Paras and ABAs only had 4 steps. We added a 5th step, and we also added a super step at year 10 to recognize our staff members who are here for more than 10 years. The other thing we did is we were only recognizing degreed and non-degreed, and degreed was defined as bachelor's and master's. So what we did is we added a new column where we're now identifying and recognizing people with an associate's degree while giving greater compensation to those who have a bachelor's and a master's degree. And once the school committee ratifies this and signs off on it, we'll then go and forward everything to Greg and James. We'll put together a final thick document of the whole contract, and then it'll be executed. So, like I said, we're really happy for the process, happy for our paraprofessionals, and on cue, for our paraprofessionals and our ABAs for getting this to them. So if there are questions from the committee, happy to answer them.
No questions, but I'm happy that we were able to come to an agreement.
Anything from you guys on the committee?
I think that it's a good step forward, right? I think that we still have to address, like, wages. Wages is the biggest part of your compensation, and we know that we need to, the next time around, we're going to be able to tackle the next part of it that we need to do, but I think it's the wages for them. Knowing where we're at, what we've done, I think it's a great collaborative effort on both sides. I loved the open meeting. I thought that was very beneficial. I heard from a lot of people in the community how they liked that. It was very transparent about where we were at. And so people, the public understood there's only X amount of dollars to go around, at the same time taking care of DESPA to the best of the ability with the budget we had. So for me, it was a great communication, collaboration effort that I would like to see all of our other unions do. Whether they do or they don't, TBD, but that, for me, I think is the way that we should be doing our negotiations, because it's transparent to everybody.
Yes, if I could
Absolutely.
add. I think this is a step in the right direction, but the way to complete a mile or all the miles in a marathon is one step at a time. So I can see this process really developing, at the next contract, and hopefully Douglas and the schools will be in a position to give that much more, right? We value all the members, and we're a team, and it was a joy to be be part of the process. I'm new to the district, I'm new to this role, so I was a little bit nervous, but I saw both sides willing to do what it took to get the job done. And, a special kudos to DESPA and the members, because they came back and they're like, I know they gave a ton of concessions and they didn't want to. And that's really helped us make this contract a reality. So thank you. And a thank you to the administration as well. The numbers is hard. I can't even understand the columns. So I don't even know how you do it, Ms. Keegan. It's super, super impressive. So really a team effort, and it was great to see the collaboration. I look forward to it in a few years.
Yes.
So just need a motion to approve.
So I'd be looking for a motion to approve.
I move to approve the memorandum of agreement between the Douglas School Committee and the Douglas Education Support Professionals Association.
Motion made by Teresa, seconded by?
Meg?
Seconded by Meg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstained? All set. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
ladies. All right, now we're going to go back to the superintendent's report.
All right, so we're going to dive into some numbers and talk about the accountability system up here. First slide is, we have a lot to be proud of when you look at this data. So this is a little bit different than MCAS, but it's based off of MCAS. Every year, what the state does is they look at your previous year's MCAS scores and growth scores, and then they move the goalpost a few yards ahead. and they measure to see whether or not you met the target, exceeded the target, or did not meet the target. And that's what this report speaks to. It speaks to how we did towards moving towards our target. And when you look at these numbers and the information, there's a lot of people to be included in this. Teachers did a tremendous job in moving our kids forward. Our students did a tremendous job in listening to what was happening inside classrooms to move forward. Our paraprofessionals, our ABAs, our administrators, and as I said all along, it's everyone. It's our cafeteria workers who are feeding our kids. It's our custodians who are making sure our buildings are clean and safe. It's our bus drivers who get our students here to school. So I'm truly grateful for that. I'm going to go back and look at what our goals were last year, because it's important to look at where your goals were, because when you set goals and you work towards attaining them, you see the product of your hard work. So we did the following last year, and you'll see this again when principals do their school improvement plans. We had a commitment and an emphasis on looking at data. We made sure we utilized the multi-tiered system of supports, which is MTSS. We had a focus on Universal Design for Learning, which is UDL. We adapted instruction based on feedback from benchmark assessments, which was STAR and NWEA and MCAS data. We implemented individual student success plans, and we prioritized the social, emotional well-being of students. So those were our main goals for last year. Now to see how that translated into success. So if you look at this first chart here, our annual criterion target percentage, we went from 51% of meeting our targets to 74% of meeting our targets from 23 to 24. That's a pretty substantive jump. We were listed as substantial progress towards targets. A school district is identified as making substantial progress towards its targets if its criterion reference percentage is between 50 to 74% and has not otherwise been identified as requiring assistance or intervention due to low overall performance, low student group performance, low graduation rates, or low assessment participation. If you look over to the right in that box, 45.8% of all school districts in the Commonwealth fell into the substantial progress. But if you look at what it takes to get from substantial progress to meeting and exceeding, we were at 74, and you had to be at 75. We missed being in the top 15% of the Commonwealth towards hitting our targets by 1 percentage point last year. There's a lot to celebrate for that. So a lot of hard work went into that. Okay, and I'll say that again. We missed by 1 percentage point being in the top 15% of the Commonwealth. So what does that look like? So this chart is broken up into, up top you see 24, underneath you see 23. A 0 means we declined from where we were in 23 to 24. A 1 means there wasn't change. A 2 means we improved but we were below target. A 3 means we met the target, and a 4 means we exceeded the target. So if you look at all students towards achievement, this is the MCAS scores, your 400s, your 425s. We had no change in ELA in grades 3 to 8. We met the target in math in 3 to 8, and we exceeded the target in science. We spent a lot of time writing our ISSPs, and you heard a lot of it when we did our STAR data, looking at the students who are in the red and the yellow, really prioritizing our at-risk population. And the lowest performing students is identified as the bottom 25% based off of MCAS. So you can see for our lowest performing students in 3 to 8, we improved but we were below target in ELA, but we exceeded our target in math. Okay? And then for high school students, we exceeded our target in ELA, exceeded our target in math, and we met our target in science. You have to have a certain number of kids to be considered. I think it's like 15, 16, 17. So because we didn't hit that is why we don't have anything for low-performing students at the high school level.
Wait, sorry, can I ask a question? What is it, I don't understand what this 1 is. I got all the 4s. What is the 1 that I'm looking at, all students, non-high school grades, in 24?
In 24, all high schools, so the 1, it means for English language arts.
Yep.
they gave us, it'll come up in another slide. Let's say last year we were at 450 was our average score. They wanted us to go from 450 to 455. We
Okay,
stayed at 450.
okay.
And so the lowest performing non-high school grades in science, we declined? Is that how I'm reading that?
In high school, no. In high school and science, we met the target with a 3. For our lowest performing students, because we didn't have enough students in the cohort, that's why there isn't any.
In the non-high school grades?
Correct. I'm sorry, say that again?
The second one, in the non-high school grades, this is all zeros. I'm assuming that.
The dashes, no, there's not enough data to report out.
Okay, so it wasn't that our students didn't make progress in
Correct,
science?
it was because there wasn't enough data. Correct. The next slide is growth. So again, for all students, we were improved below target in ELA in 3 to 8, and we met the target in math in 3 to 8. For our lowest performing students, again, we met the targets in growth in ELA and in math, and in high school, in ELA, we exceeded the target, and in math, we improved, but we were below the target. For our graduation rates, this is high school completion, you can see that they set for our 4-year graduation rate, we met the target. For our extended engagement, meaning kids coming back for year 5 and completing, we improved, but we were below the target. And for our dropout rate, meaning we had more kids drop out, we had less kids drop out, we exceeded the target that they set forth for us. And this last one, again, we talked about it last year, we know we have an issue with chronic absenteeism. So if you look at the high school, at the all students non-high school, for 3 to 8, we improved, but we were below target. For our lowest performing students, we met target, and at the high school, we declined for our chronic absenteeism, which is why we've tried to put in some of those provisions with our attendance policies. For advanced coursework, they want to see students taking upper level courses, and we exceeded our target at the high school for that. So again, a lot of great information. I know it's a lot of numbers, but it speaks to when you set goals and when you put your mind to them and when you prioritize those goals, you see the fruits of your labor. We did that all last year, and we see how that played out here.
So the chronic absenteeism, though, isn't that true for the whole state, though?
It's true for the entire
Yes.
state.
It's not, this is not. a
It's not
Douglas.
just Douglas, it's been a statewide,
In statewide, are we mostly seeing it in high school like we are, or is it
it's
across the board?
across, it's across the
across.
board,
Okay.
across the board. So these next slides kind of break down to all students, so you can look at what the number was for '23, what it was for '24, and it breaks it down for all students, lowest performing, high needs, which is a combination of low income, EL, and students with disabilities, and our special education students. So you can see for ELA non-high school, for all students, there was no change. For our lowest performing, high needs, and students with disabilities, we improved, but we were below target. And that's looking at 3 to 8 as a whole. If you look at the high school for ELA, we exceeded our targets for all students, and we exceeded our targets for our high-need students. So those students that we really place an emphasis on running those ISSPs, looking at that STAR data, looking at that MCAS data, and kind of mitigating those gaps that we saw for COVID, we're working toward that, and we exceeded our target for high needs in ELA at the high school. For mathematics, non-high school, for all students, we met the target. For our lowest performing students, we exceeded the target. For our high needs students, we exceeded the target. And for our students with disabilities, we met the target. So again, that work that our teachers did, our administrators did, and our students did, at working at closing those gaps and working with our at-risk population, we're seeing the fruits there. At the high school level, we exceeded our target for all students and for our high needs population. The reason there isn't data is the cohorts were too small to report out. Science MCAS, non-high school, for all students, we exceeded the target. For our high needs, we improved, but we were below target. For our low income, we met the target, and for our students with disabilities, we exceeded our target. That was in grades 5 and 8 for science, and at the high school level, for all students for science, we met the target, and for our high-needs students, we exceeded our target. And then the last few pages are our growth scores. You really want to be at about 50%. 50% means you grew in a year. So again, you can see 2, 3, 2, 2. So the 2s for ELA non-high school, we improved, but we were below the target. But for our lowest performing, we met the target. For ELA at the high school, we exceeded our target for growth. For our mathematics, in our 3 to 8, we had 3 points, so we met our targets for growth for all students, low performing, high needs, and students with disabilities. They were low, I'm sorry. And then high school, we improved, but we were below target. Next week, 2 weeks when we meet principals, we'll dive into their grade-specific and building-specific MCAS data. But this is our accountability data. It's out on the website. It's what a lot of our metrics are based off of. But I was really happy when I got, is there work to do? Absolutely. As I've said all along, it's one metric, it's one data point in a whole bunch of data points that make up the work that we do. But I was really pleased when we saw the great work of our teachers, the great work of our paraprofessionals, the great work of our service providers, the great work of our ABAs and our principals, because we saw the majority of our scores improve, and by 1 percentage point, we would have been in the top 15% of the state, which is awesome.
Questions?
Just out of curiosity, when we see that MCAS data in a couple of weeks, will we also have STAR testing data at that time, or not yet?
No, we won't have STAR testing data at that time, and there's nothing to compare it to, so it would just be the original STAR testing. So we finished doing STAR testing last week.
Okay.
So next week will just be, the MCAS is there's a lot
I
of
know,
stuff
total, like,
it's a lot
different,
to
but
sift
curious
through.
to see, like, how we're starting off 2025 too, or 2024.
For 24.
I know, what year is it?
Other questions on the accountability data?
When are the MCAS results going home to parents?
They just came in,
Yeah, they were putting them in envelopes today.
putting them in envelopes today. They just came in a few days ago, so they'll be getting mailed out.
No, I'm pleased. I mean, we're making progress. Obviously, we know social emotional issues are still COVID, the dread word, but it's just a measurement of where the child was on that day when they sat and took this test, right? And depending on what time of the year it was, with everything else going on, it's just one data
One
point.
measurement out of many.
Yep.
Correct.
So,
All right.
but I'm pleased with it. It
Yeah,
is
we were very,
progress.
very, very happy, very happy for it.
I think I'm happy about what it is. I think where my concern comes, like, because I'm not thinking about what happened last year, right? Like, I'm thinking about what's happening now, and my concern is with some of our class sizes being the size that they are, and some of our staffing being what it is, I'm concerned how we're going to continue to make progress with some of the, I know we're doing UDL, and I know we're doing all these things, but, as we move forward and as we move our district forward, we can't do that without the people in the
Correct.
classrooms doing it. And I'm thrilled, and I know everybody's working hard, but I also know that we have classrooms busting at the seams with kids with needs right now, and I'm just worried how we're going to, when the principals come up and talk about that next week, like, I'm worried about what our staffing is doing and what that's doing for our kids right now.
Yeah, and again, there's a couple of bubbles that have been followed through the year. So like, for instance, our 5th grade is high, 4th grade was high last year, the 5th grade is this year. So we know we have a couple of bubbles scattered throughout there. And I go, principals, I know they've done things to address that. It'd be great to lower those class sizes, but it's.
Or, like looking at remediation powers, or like looking at how we're scheduling, because we can't forget, kids learn in civics and science and things like that. Like, kids read and write in all those areas, and I just worry.
Yeah.
I just worry as a mom whose kid is in those classes that we have enough people in there supporting them.
Anything else?
Nope.
All right, awesome.
Thank you.
Next, we have our school improvement plans, and we'll start with Ms. Sosha. And you'll see a theme from when we talked about my goals over the summer and last week. And one thing we started doing here, and we can see that it works, is having that vertical alignment from what the district goals are, to what my goals are, to what principals' goals are, to what teachers' goals are. So Cindy will present her school improvement plan. You have it in your packet. And we'll start with Ms. Sosha, who has props, too.
You brought props for us today?
Of course.
Of
course I did.
Such a
Things to show
primary.
you. Okay. So these are all aligned, like Dr. Vera said, with the district blueprint and with the superintendent's goals. Some of them are really continuations of goals from last year because they're ongoing. So as I go through it, you'll be hearing some of the same things. The first goal is a data goal, which I think we all have. Primary school has made huge gains. We've been doing the STAR for a few years now, and I feel like our staff has really got a good handle on it. Are they perfect? No, not yet, but we will get there. And they're using the data. They're doing the ISSPs, using that data. It's driving their instruction. They're adjusting as we go. And we're finding, more and more reports that, oh, look, we have this now to look at, and things that you didn't find. There's so much in there that it takes a while. So my goal, of course, is a step above, and I always do this, but it's okay. I'm okay with it. So my data goal is that all students are going to score in the high growth and high proficiency. So we've been looking at high proficiency all along. That's your colors, your red, your yellow, and your blue, and your green. So now we want to look at both. We want to look at the high growth as well, which is your student growth percentile. So about 60 is the magic number from what I could see in some of the reports. They would be high growth. So a student could really have a low growth but a high proficiency. So they could be green, and before we would be looking at that saying, hey, they're good, they're green, but they could have low growth. So that's where we want to focus the attention. So either they're not being challenged, we need to step it up a little bit with them. So we are going to be doing those ISSPs for every student this time around, and not just the yellows and the reds. So there are reports that will give that information to us for every student. Are they low growth and high proficiency? Are they high right now? So that's where our focus is going to be. We want everyone to be in the high. So it's aggressive, but it's a goal, right? It's a goal. So that's the first one. And of course, we're going to use some of our same data points that we've used. It's the STAR 5 times a year. It's CBM measures. It's classroom running records that they do. So there are plenty of measures that we can use to track that. And then the second goal is the Universal Design for Learning goal. This is an ongoing that we have implemented in the past year. And again, we've done this, and I feel like my staff has a good handle on it. So we've tweaked it a little bit. We have handouts on it. We've watched webinars on it. Every month we attacked a certain part of it, like the student engagement. So what I'm adding in here is 1 month we're going to just focus on differentiation. Then the next month we're going to share out with each other at a staff meeting. How would you differentiate a lesson? Bring a lesson and show us what did you do to differentiate. And I can see that during walkthroughs. I can see the strategies they're looking at and that they're using. So they have a template, kind of, all the teachers, so they know when I come in, I'm looking for UDL strategies to comment on. The third goal is the social emotional goal. And again, that's ongoing. That's our morning meeting. We've been doing that for some time as well. The teachers have been great about implementing new things into the morning meeting. I went through one, just a walkthrough the other day, and our goal, our theme for September was friendship, and they were talking about friendship in the morning meeting. So every month it's a different theme. They coordinate that with our counselor, so when she goes into the classroom every week, her theme matches the theme of the month. And so it's all reinforcing what we're talking about. So October now is on feelings. When the kids come in my office in the morning to do the Pledge of Allegiance, I'll always ask them, I said, what's the theme this month? Feelings, so they all know and they hear about it. At the end of the month, they get a raffle drawing. So if they've been a good friend or whatever the theme is, they get raffle tickets in the classroom, and the teacher will pick out 2 random, and they get a book from the book machine. So we've already done round 1 with the book machine, the end of October.
And our fourth goal is the family engagement. And we really want to reach out to families in different ways, and this matches, the superintendent's goals. We do our newsletters, we do our blogs, I put it out on Twitter, things like that. So we're looking for something else. And here's my little props that I brought. So my goal is that the primary will find at least 2 different ways to do something different to reach out to families. So we came up with, we can still do our phone calls. Some people aren't as comfortable with phone calls as others, so that's an option. And then we purchased some of these postcards. So a little note from your teacher, from the teacher's desk, or here's another one, notes from the teacher, and we're actually mailing them home. I have some too. And the other one is called Happy Mail, and this goes in the backpack, so it's not a postcard to be mailed. A little note to brag about so-and-so for being a good friend, excellent behavior all day, showing improvement, being helpful, working with others, and you can add whatever you want. So a little story, I sent my first 2. And I got an email right away from the parent. Thank you so much. This means a lot. I know that, my child isn't perfect and it has a way to go, but this means so much. Thank you so much. So that felt great. That was awesome. My other little friend in first grade that I sent the card to, he came up to me at lunch and said, "Thank you for my report card that you sent to me." He called it his report card, so it was cute. So they are seeing it, they're enjoying it, the teachers are doing the same thing. We send them out like once a week. The mailing ones go out like on a Thursday or a Friday, they go out. So that's working for us. It's fun too. It's fun for the kids and it's fun for us. Any questions?
I love it. I love the high growth, that it's not just look at these kids in green and we're looking at individual progress instead of just the grade. I love that, and I love the notes home. Like, I think we need to go back to basics to be able to reach out to parents. There's too many emails, especially when you have kids in multiple schools. You cannot keep up with all the emails. It is not even possible. I would need to dedicate a part-time job to just looking at my emails. So I love it. Something that the kid can be proud of to show mom and dad. Like, love it.
I did one last year, and then it was a 4th grader. He wrote me a note back. He mailed it to me. I had to practice addressing the envelope through the whole thing. Probably the first time he ever did, but I got a note back, so it was pretty cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You wanted to say something?
No, I appreciate that. Like, that stuff means so much, and it builds trust, and it builds community. And, like, more than anything right now in our world, we need community and we need trust.
Right.
So thank you for thinking outside of the box. I think this is just.
But not outside the mailbox.
I know. You're quick. But I think that, it's just another way, right, to try to reach and get that community involvement, because then they'll go home and explain, hey, did you get this? Did you, what about this? And maybe we should go to open house. Maybe we should go to movie night. Maybe we should do parent-teacher conference. So thank you so much for being creative and thinking outside of the box.
Cindy has about 15 teachers. If they're each sending out 2 a week, that's 30 families.
Yeah,
And
it's huge outreach.
If 3 or 4 or 5 call back and make a connection to the teacher that wasn't there, that's huge. So it just keeps on building.
And everybody loves to get mail. Like, with their bill, they're pumped. So, I think it really brings not only the kids, but the family together, and it brings joy. So,
Yes.
Thank you.
anything that's not a bill is good.
Mine are all bills.
Me too.
Well, I'll send you some mail.
I mean, the art of the handwritten note
Yeah.
is,
It's a personal touch.
it is,
Yes.
you get a thank you text, you get a thank you email, but very rarely do you see that pen to paper and that handwritten note. My handwriting's awful, so sometimes it takes people a little bit of time, but it is true, I know, Julia.
We've seen it.
You've seen it, but it's important. All right, Mr. Haynes. For what?
Y'all agreed, no props.
We're visual learners.
She was clear she was bringing props today.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you very much. I also want to just take this moment to also recognize and congratulate all of our paras and ABAs. Not a day goes by. Every day I'm driving into work, I'm gripping the wheel. And, but I always know that we're going to have our paras and our ABAs and our teachers, the whole staff, but just, ready and dedicated. And just, I come in and we never know what the morning's going to look like, and they're just always so flexible and pleasant and professional. And anyway, so I'm very grateful for what they do, and I'm really happy that they're being recognized. So thank you. I'll present our school improvement plan, and feel free to ask questions as I move along. I will start by, and a lot of this is going to sound the same as what you've heard, because it follows in the wake of others. First of all, school improvement goal number 1, student learning, improved academic performance through data-driven instruction. One thing I am trying to do, I realize that the data and the MCAS and all that, it's one point, it's one, right? But it all tells a story, and together it tells a big story. And I think if you can influence it, right, and use it to your advantage, you can really move the needle. And we're really working to build that culture of data use at our school more and more continually. And so basically, similar to Ms. Sosha, we are also in our school improvement plan, number 1 is to increase by 85% of the students will score at the at or above benchmark level as defined by the STAR early literacy, reading, and math. You all might recall, I think last year we discussed we are going to continue the early literacy STAR testing for grade 2 throughout the entire year, not switch to the reading. So that's our goal in terms of their performance, but also the expected growth. By 2025, students will have an average student growth percentage, SGP, in the 35 to 65 range, which is the expected level of growth that you should see from your students as defined by the STAR assessment. And in terms of our action steps, and I should back up a little bit and say that these also reflect my goals in my role as an administrator, and as well as our teams, our teaching teams. We're actually meeting now, and the teaching teams, the teachers' goals are around improved performance on the STAR. That's the student learning goal, and the professional practice goal that we're seeing with these teams is getting into developing this cadence around using the data and working with the data. Because of all the tests that we do, they're coming in like 8-week cycles. So the teaching teams are going to be working together to create those cycles. So this is something that wasn't done last year, but everyone appears to be on board with, and we're going to work together. And so they are going to build their practice as teams, having a unified goal around utilizing this data. And I think that the performance at the end of the year will reflect that. So I'm excited about these objectives that we have in this goal. Does anyone have any questions about that? Continue on. Thank you. The next goal, student improvement goal number 2, is professional practice, improve social emotional learning through character traits instruction. So similar to what's being done at the primary school, we also are focusing on these character traits. What we're referring to at the elementary school is tiger traits, where we did something kind of similar last year, but what we'll have is the school adjustment council will go into the classrooms, we'll conduct lessons around particular traits with the students, and then we have our tiger pause, which is whenever a staff member sees a student demonstrating one of these traits, they'll write a tiger paw, it goes into the box, and then we do drawings consistently, and students get the book tokens where they can then come down and be recognized and get a book, and just constantly building on that. I mean, we have our community meeting coming up this week. We're going to roll out a new character trait this week. It's last week it was social skill development, so friendship, emotional intelligence is what we'll be doing as well. There's conflict resolution, positive school culture, academic engagement, self-discipline, all these things that are creating great human beings. And so we're going to do our best to just instill these in the kids, and just working consistently throughout the year, just making it part of the school's everyday culture. We talk about it all the time. Kids get recognized all the time. Kids come down and they have their tiger paw, they're looking for the box, and just having it really front and center with the kids. So that's another one of our goals. Any questions about that? Okay?
I like your tiger traits.
Oh.
I like what.
And I like the paw. It's like
Yeah.
school spirit and all of this mixed into one. I love it.
But
the
the-
civic responsibility.
And it-
Yes.
Like that, I really like that.
I do
like,
too.
They're citizens already.
Right.
Our students are citizens.
Absolutely, yeah, that's right. That's creating citizens. That's what we're doing, right? So, and then when they come down for the book, it's really cool to see kids excited about books. You know, it's not about a phone. It's not about an app. It's a book, and that's really fun too. So,
And you have the cool machine.
the cool machine.
I would
is-
just be excited to hit the button on the
Yeah.
machine.
Seriously.
So, and then school improvement goal number 3, family engagement, improve student attendance. So I rolled this out at our back-to-school night. We had, the entire cafeteria was filled, and I basically, what we want to do is improve attendance. And I was basically telling the families, and it was one of those moments where it was like I could just see everyone, just their faces, the way they changed. The year before COVID, it was 14% was our, let me back up. Basically, take students that missed 10 or more days of school, right? The year before COVID, it was 14% of our students missed 10 days or more of school. Last year, 49% of our students missed 10 days or more of school. And when I showed that slide, I remember I pressed the slide and just faces just changed because everyone just couldn't believe it. But it really has, what we were talking about earlier tonight, it's just been, the impact has been unbelievable, like just so many kids missing so much school, and we're trying to get them back, right? So I rolled it out that night, and that's kind of, it's going to be one of our initiatives, one of our school improvement goals. It's one of my goals as an administrator, is to get students coming back to school. And we're going to, following, again, Ms. Sosha and I were talking, we haven't started sending out letters. I don't have any props to share, but definitely plan to do that as well. I called a parent, I was on the phone with a parent today that I noticed their child has missed a bit, and so I called and I talked to the parent about, maybe getting on the bus. We have these great breakfasts. There's going to be some hot, warm options in the morning for kids for breakfast as well coming, and the parent seemed to really appreciate that, and just trying to make it easier for them just to get their kid to school. So these are things, it's going to really be, I think, an information campaign with families to let them know the impact that missing school has on kids, the benefits of coming to school, and how we can make it easier for them. So that's really how we're going to go after attaining goal number 3. I'm setting it at 20% for 2024, 25. 20% of the kids have 10 or more, which is not quite pre-COVID levels, but I definitely think it's doable. Just as soon as everybody saw that, I think people just fall back, oh yeah, honey, it's fine, I'm working from home, stay home. And people have gotten into that sort of rut a little bit, and that routine. But know that it's important for your kid. It's in your child's best interest to come to school. I think information will have a big influence on parents.
Do we have any data on, are we getting more sick call-ins? And I say that as a parent who watched pneumonia go around. I've never seen pneumonia go around so much ever. Are we seeing more sick? Or is it literally what you said, people are home, so they just say to stay
school
home?
feels similar to it just feels similar before COVID in terms of now kids get everything. They get the cough, they get, you know what I mean? Stuff's going around, right? Where before it was like either it was COVID or nothing because no one was around. But now it's back to that, right? And so I don't think there's more sickness. I just think it's more like someone mentioned at a meeting that it could have to do with more parents working from home now, more, right? Sometimes it's just easier to keep the kid at home. Hey, I'm here, they're here, it's going to be fine. But without really realizing that it could be detrimental to their child's well-being. And so it's nothing, no bad intentions there, but they might not know. So therefore, informing the parents, I think, will be one way to get them to send their kid to school regularly. People are still in the mindset, some people are still in the mindset where during COVID, if you're sick, stay home.
Yeah.
So there's still some of that. As Ken said, and we've talked about this, Mr. Vega brought it up at the high school. Prior to COVID, there weren't that many people who worked from home, so it wasn't that big of a fight. Hey, Mom, I don't want to go to school.
I gotta go to work.
I have to go to work.
Yeah.
So, and you can't be home alone. So the child went to school. Now you have people working more from home, so that, okay, fine, it's not worth the fight, stay at home. If you look at Kenny talked about 10 absences once a month. You can, and chronic absenteeism is defined as 18, which is, twice a month. You can quickly stay home once every 3 weeks, and before you know it, it's Christmas, and you've missed 10 days of school, and you really don't notice it. Add to that too, especially when you get into some of the upper grades, the mental health piece of it, where you have a lot of kids, for a whole host of reasons, staying home. And prior to COVID, our students didn't have Chromebooks. Now they all have Chromebooks. They all have Google Classroom. So when you're looking at the high school but when you're looking at the middle school, when a child says, Mom, you have to go to school to learn, I have everything on Google Classroom. I could just stay at home and do it. So there's a little bit of that as well too. But as Ken showed that slide, I was there in the background, I heard the gasp. You can quickly pick up 10, 12, 15 days without even knowing that your child's been home 3-4 days. And if mom leaves before dad, then dad leaves before mom, and you have that back and forth.
Has the district changed its policy on sick? Because I think a lot of parents still think, and maybe it is still the case, I've heard a lot of parents say, well, kid has a cough, is sick. Are we still implementing that as a district? If your child is sick, we want them home, even if it's just a cough, are we on, has to be a fever? What is the district's policy on coming to school sick?
The new policy is, if you have a fever, you should be staying home, okay? If you have a cough, and again, people want to test, they don't want to test, that's a personal family decision, but we're asking you that if your child's sick and could infect others, to keep them home, or come to school wearing a mask, which we see a lot of people still doing, not a lot, but we see people doing at times. But the state doesn't differentiate between excused and unexcused.
Yeah.
An absence is an absence when it comes to chronic absenteeism. Our internal policies can excuse or not excuse, but the state's looking at it as 18's 18, whether you were in court for 17 of those days and homesick for one, or you were homesick for all 18.
I can answer that partially too, because I know one of the schools just sent home the picture with all the emojis on it about, primary, okay. That's right. And I was, a great idea, sorry, but it was a great idea, because I am, you have that knee-jerk reaction. Your kid coughs, and I'm like, oh my God, you have the plague. But no fever, and you're like, what do I do? A few years ago, you're coughing, you're afraid to cough and sneeze in public. So what do I do? And this was that guideline, below each emoji, there was what do we do? And basically, if you had a fever, you don't go back until you're fever-free for 24 hours. If you're throwing up, you stay home. If you've got other symptoms, you stay home. But for the most part, if you're coughing, no fever, or runny nose, no fever, what every kid has right now, they go to school.
Yeah, I think we could even send that out at the high school level, because I've had middle school parents, we've had that conversation at the bus stop, and she's like, I don't know, she's coughing, I'm keeping her home, people, I think people really think we're still in if you're coughing, stay home.
I think it needs to go on the website. That would just make
I like the
recommendation. If people are unsure.
The kids are
With
not going to be happy.
emojis make people happy.
Yes.
Because then they know, if it's this, right? I haven't seen it, but I'm assuming that's how it is.
Yeah,
If you're
it's just a
green,
chart.
you stay home.
It is. It's very
But it's good.
Is it graphic?
No, it's emoji graphic.
It's
It's emoji graphic.
It's good. I think it's appropriate. I think it's just letting people know, because we're living in an environment where we're unsure at times about what we should do, not do. Again, parents can make that choice, or guardians can make that choice, whether to send their child to school, but,
I think they think they're following the rule,
right.
not knowing that
The
we
rules
passed the COVID part, you're okay, you can cough.
Well said, Sonia.
Could I jump in on something else?
Absolutely.
Do you have data, is there data, do parents know and families know about what the consequences of missing a lot of school look like?
It's in there is information in the handbook.
But I mean, not like consequences
sorry,
you're gonna get,
that's a great question. We do, there are letters that we'll send out once.
But that's not what I'm asking. I mean, consequences as far as lack of growth, to the student
No,
themselves.
yes, so sorry. So in this plan, I have a lot of information that explains like the impact. And again, back to that information campaign, just kind of, not another email, right? Not another email.
Thank you.
But just like send that information out like in the newsletter, right? Like have that be sort of like a, send your kid to school corner in the newsletter where we, maybe every week we send out another kind of factoid about like the impact of kids missing school and or the benefits of going.
Your reading growth might be only this much. If you miss
Yes,
this much.
exactly.
The Department of and take it for what it's worth, given what's going on. The Department of Education, when we met with them a couple weeks ago, put a slide out where they looked at students who weren't chronically absent and students who were chronically absent. Their achievement scores in MCAS were 20 points lower for students who were chronically absent versus not, and their growth scores were about 10 to 15 points lower chronically absent to not chronically absent. So state has, again, just using that one metric as a data point for, and again, you have to, there's a whole host, it's across the state, there's some demographic stuff as to inner city schools and kids who are absent, and what that does, so it doesn't break it down that specifically. It was done for a whole host of reasons, but there is some stuff out there on that.
I just want to say to you, like, I just really appreciate this, and I appreciate the way you talked about the absenteeism, because there's a lot of blame out there for families and parents and guardians, and I happen to have the pleasure or displeasure of talking to a lot of administrators and how they handle that, and I like when you talked about the family that you called and you talked about how you can help, because that's ultimately, like, I know that your jobs are very full and there's lots of things, but ultimately we're here to help the kids. We're here to help the families, and I appreciate that because we don't hear that all the time in my line of work outside of this.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you
Do
so
we
much.
have a fourth goal for elementary school of the communication with community outreach?
Engagement is the attendance.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. So,
He's using attendance as his entry
Got it.
point. Yep.
thank you, Mr. O'Brien.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Had a fun month at the middle school.
It's been a long month of Mondays.
Never done.
A lot going on. We switched from NWA to STAR. We have Power School. Teachers are learning Panorama. There's been a lot thrown at them. I'm proud of how they're trying to learn it all at the same time, plus new curriculum in math and ELA. More programs that we're having in special education, the OG reading program, which warrants schedule changes, which no one likes to see, and you alluded to some large class sizes. A lot moving into the district, and unfortunately, that was in our largest class that we have. We just enrolled 2 more into that class day before yesterday. So it's been a challenging month of September, but the staff is just absolutely phenomenal. And I can't wait to share with them the middle school report from, as the superintendent showed the district, the middle school report. We'll reward them for all of their hard work. Not to sound redundant, but again, we're looking at the student growth between 35 and 65% using STAR and Panorama. We did our benchmark testing. We're doing a survey shortly to do the benchmarks for the SEL. I'm going to go a little bit out of order, so I don't bore you to death as for the third time. So we changed SEL. We always look to try to, what can we do better? What can we do different? What's going to work? So we moved our SEL lessons to the related arts department, so the students aren't missing class time in math and ELA, science and history. Not that related arts are not important, but they can absorb that a little better. When we get the survey back, working with our guidance department, they'll come up with targeted lesson plans for those SEL, either by the student or by the biggest theme that came out of that data. So we don't have it mapped out month to month because we're going to see what the students need, where they at, depending on which grade. Panorama has a boatload of our lessons already in it. I'm thinking 353 lessons in there for all grade levels. We can easily dip down to 5th grade if the 6th grades need it, maybe steal from 6 to 7, whatever the students need. And the guidance department will be working with them. And it'll also be, the guidance will help develop the ISSPs, because if there's an SEL piece for it, we have to work on that, and that's where the related art teachers will keep an eye out for that. So if it was an attendance issue, talk to Ms. Shanks, our PE teacher, try to build a strong relationship, get them together. Panorama recommended, and we already implemented once a attendance buddy, where they just look out, usually an 8th grader for a 6th grader, just to say hi in the morning and just make them feel well. So little things like that that we can do. Our attendance, our chronic absenteeism improved a lot last year, and we hopefully keep going in that direction. So again, the STAR testing and the new curriculum and going back to the ISSP, hopefully all that will show growth. But I do understand the challenges the teachers are facing and trying to support them the best we can. We're going to continue with the UDL. I don't like to say me or I or my school. One of my SMART goals was 1,000 classroom visits in 2 years. And the district was kind enough to pay for the programming that goes with that. Right now I'm at 75 classes since the start of school, just to be in there for a quick visit and a quick email to the teachers to see what's going on, to be there much more than just walking in and do a walkthrough. So at this pace, I should hit 500 by about April. So hopefully things will go well and we can do that. But it is nice to have that constant reminder of why you're at work, because it's easy to get lost in your office. So to get out and about, and then you see the problems firsthand or the great things. Going back to the UDL, I noticed the teachers using UDL, it's just good teaching, they just don't know what it's called. They're like, oh, that was multiple means of representation, that was removing barriers. So they are using it, they're getting better at it, but I think it's just good teaching, and they just didn't know what the label was for it as a classroom teacher. For the SEL, I already went into that with the resources and strategy. And for the engagement piece, we're going to go have coffee once a month at the Coffee Bean. The guidance counselors and the administrators will let the public know. Hopefully that will move on to days at the Historical Society, days at the library. We're trying to meet the public where they are at. So go out there, have some flyers, who to contact, just put some faces with names, and just have more visibility outside the school, in the school community. So if you come in one morning, I'm sitting there at 8 o'clock having a coffee, I'm actually hard at work. And we're also implementing MyCap and the MIFA, which it started at the high school. Mr. Ringett brought us into the loop that it was going to be going down to 6th grade, where they start their college and career readiness as young as 6th grade, and they have to start building their portfolios. And again, that's done by the guidance department working with the really the arts teachers in that SEL piece. So it all kind of groups together. And that's the improvement plan, as well as a lot of other things that they're doing at the middle school.
Just one quick question, Mr. O'Brien, and I apologize because I meant to ask Ms. Sosha and Mr. Haynes as well. How many openings do you have in your building right now? Like, what is your staffing like right now?
We are fully staffed, but looks like I'll be looking for a para, an ABA is moving, so I might need an ABA, but right now we're fully staffed.
Except for possibly one ABA. Ms. Sosha, how about you?
I'm almost there. I have somebody hired that will start Monday as a paraprofessional in my special education flex room. So that'll be all set. And I have someone that I'm doing the paperwork on for my Title I para. So just about there. That would make me full.
Okay.
I'm in the same position. I have 2 people that are eyeing 2 positions that are working towards these positions, so I should be full too.
Okay, so like right now we have like roughly 5 that, because the people aren't in the building yet, so, okay. And then we'll get to you later.
I don't feel slighted.
What is our max classroom size at the middle school that they can have? I think I've heard as many as 30 are in a classroom. Is it more
Our
than that?
largest class size is 30, and it could be creeping to 31. We're trying everything possible to make that work.
And there's
to
students
add
with
extra
IEPs in there,
supports. I'm sorry, Bethany.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you,
No, no,
Mr.
you're just gonna
O'Brien.
hear.
There's students with IEPs in there, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do we have additional adults? I don't know who exactly in the room that can help that teacher trying to
So this-
teach 30 children?
We do have the inclusion staff, we have the special education liaisons, we have ABAs, we have the paras. I can certainly empathize with the teachers when you have
Lot for the
30
teacher.
students in class and 13 of whom might be on IEPs. And the classrooms at the middle school are tiny.
Yeah.
But we're trying to come up with creative ideas to free up staff. One block here, push somebody in, one block there, push somebody in. Have the flex program push into some classrooms as we can. Again, with some new IEPs going into the district and some coming out late last year, that changed that dynamic.
I appreciate your transparency. I think just as a mom and as a school committee member, that's very concerning that that's where we are right now. And I appreciate, like, believe me, I get 6,000 positions open in the state of Massachusetts, absolutely. I get that and I empathize with that, but I honestly don't, I hate to say care, because this is our district and these are our students and our,
I just don't know how students can learn in a classroom of 30 kids. There's no way you can focus,
difficult,
on what's being taught when you're.
Right.
And it was a large fourth grade class, it was a large fifth grade, sixth grade class, seventh grade. Unfortunately, we just had people moving into the community, which bumped it up even higher, and didn't lose many from that grade for leaving.
maybe we need to look at what we can do to help support.
Yeah, I know you had the same issue, I believe it was a year or two ago with
Sixth grade.
the sixth grade,
Sixth grade, that's
and you put
great.
some stuff in place for that, so.
So it's that grade level, right? So if that was 2 years ago, that was sixth grade, now it's eighth
Yeah.
grade. It's that grade level that we're really struggling. Yeah.
It's much different than the other two grades.
And Mr. Brown, I have tons of respect for what you and everybody in your building is doing. I'm not saying it that way. It's just concerning to hear 30 kids, one classroom, in multiple blocks. It's scary. It's scary because we want the best for all of our students.
That is
And
a lot of students.
it's a lot of students. And we know, right, like, that's what happens. People move in, people move out, but we need to adjust as we go along. We can't just say, well, next year we'll figure it out. We need to address it now.
So
And again,
again, we're
total
trying to
respect
get
for
as
your
creative
staff.
as possible to help ease that solution, but I do empathize with those teachers that have that, as we know. I don't just dismiss their concerns as well, so
I think we need to
we're
look
trying
at
work together to
resources
solve it.
and what we can do aside from your creativity. What are the resources that
Right.
we can probably
The
help
tricky
aid?
part-
Beyond creativity at this
Yeah.
point.
Correct.
Right.
And the tricky part,
We're still building in Douglas, so,
And it's gonna, we know, right, more people could come in.
so
we-
I think we need to look at resources and help the situation, because middle school is
Critical.
it's critical, right, social, emotional, everything else that you're dealing with. I like, bless the teachers, the staff, the administration, because it's hard. That's a hard group of kids, and they need us. They need that support,
And we
Yeah,
want to
so-
keep them. We don't want them to leave.
right?
in
It's a
freshman
lot
year.
harder on the teacher than it is on the principal, I can guarantee you that.
Exactly, yeah.
So,
and it becomes tricky, like at the elementary school, where you have teachers teaching multiple subject areas, you have a class size of 30, you add a person, you just divide up the
Correct.
the 100 kids. When you have 30 in ELA, 30 in math, 30 in science, 30 in social studies, or 20, whatever the number is, one additional teacher in ELA lowers your ELA size, but still doesn't really do a whole heck of a lot to address the other 4 subject areas. So it's some level of creativity.
And then you run into an issue where there's one class of 20. And it's not just like, okay, we'll just move these 10 kids here because we have special education supports that they pulled out. We have music and band that the students want to participate in, and that might be the only thing that brings them to the school, is being in the chorus or the band, and making sure the teachers get their prep, and the paras are where they're supposed to be, and everyone's getting lunch. I wish it was a little easy thing as just plug somebody in one spot. We would have done it a long time ago.
No, but we might, again, like
I think
Heather
we'd be-
said, we need to look at
I
resources.
think we've reached that max where but now it's, I think, very concerning because we know this is the building block, because fifth grade is a building block for everything. And if we don't set kids up for success, never mind the teachers, right? The teachers are going to be frazzled because it's just too much. And so we want to keep our staff. We want to keep everybody. And so resources, I think, is where we need to look.
Look at that.
All that to say, your open house was fantastic. I got to see you both. I was literally between 6th and 8th grade running up and down stairs. Got to meet the 8th grade team. They were phenomenal. You know, that 6th grade team, man, I would not mess with any of those teachers. They are awesome. But I thought it was a fantastic open house. Same at the elementary school. I'm sorry I didn't get to go to the 2 other open houses, but it was a great night.
Thank you, and I appreciate the 7th grade team as well.
Yes, I did not get to visit 7th grade this year.
No, I understand it, but
Next
it's just,
year.
it's such, I'm just really blessed with a great staff. It makes coming to work a joy, even on days where you get, fire alarm goes off. And
Yeah.
You've
had
but
some
and
issues.
your moves, Miss Bronzo was fantastic upstairs. The new hire in 6th grade was phenomenal. It was a great night for parents to get to see your wonderful staff.
Thank you.
And if I just want to say, I love the idea of the attendance buddy. I think accountability is so, so important. It's kind of like when you're going to work out with someone and you're like, I don't want to work out. But someone is expecting you to be there. So I love that idea because it's twofold. It gets kids there and it shows kids, what accountability looks like. So
Yeah, we want to work with the parents. We don't want to have those battles.
And I like you guys going into the community, especially early in the morning. People have already gotten the kids off. They could jump in and have a cup of coffee because it doesn't feel as formal as having to go into the school and have a more strict feeling meeting. They can just engage in conversation.
Yeah.
Neutral ground.
Hopefully we'll get the word out.
Yeah.
Yes.
awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien.
Good evening, good evening, good evening.
Good evening.
So, obviously, high school improvement plan is going to look, we'll always have some variations, some consistencies, but some variations from other schools. This is our first dive into STAR assessing and STAR data and things of that ilk. So we held to what the superintendent's plan was and made it very consistent with our plan. Not knowing what the data actually shows ahead of time, kind of getting into these reports for the first time, it's kind of interesting to see what's going on and how we can actually measure student growth and things like that. So my first goal on student achievement is essentially identical to the superintendent's goal for 35% to 65% student growth percentages. Again, not quite knowing what we're getting into at the high school level. Typically at the high school level, in my career, I haven't been privy to a district with STAR testing or NWAA or other methods of regular assessing on a standardized level. So we're pretty excited about this, see kind of what it shows us and where we're going to go with it. And we're well into it at this point. We finished off our STAR testing last week, and we're just going to start diving into the data starting next week. And see what's going on there and see what we need to do for our students in order for them to, fill in their gaps to achieve at a higher rate. Maybe move the middle up a little bit higher, move the higher up a little bit higher, and take our lower achieving students and hopefully move them up as well. So we're hopefully we're going to see some things in there that's going to help propel us into continuing our growth that Dr. Vieira was able to show us earlier from our accountability data. So hopefully we'll continue on that. level. Moving on, again, you've heard a lot of this already. I'm the fourth one in line, so if you want to stop me, please stop me, ask questions, and continue. Like the other schools, we are continuing with the universal design of learning. We started it off last year. We saw some success with it last year. We'd like to see more success with it this year. One of the things I want to focus on is the removal of barriers and the continuous removal of barriers for our students. And we're going to be starting on that idea next week as we go into our staff meetings and with our professional development that's coming up on October 11th. So we're going to see kind of what that looks like to, from the teacher perspective, what that looks like from the student perspective, what that looks like maybe from a student that might have anxieties perspective. So one of the things that we realized last year that worked really well is putting teachers into a position where they can see things through the students' eyes. We did that a couple of times last year, and there was a lot of positive feedback about that style of presenting UDL. So we're going to continue down that road to see kind of what's going on there. So our UDL goals, again, we're continuing on that goal. It's not, a pause in any way, shape, or form. We're continuing our goal to implement these practices through the MTSS Tier 1 interventions. Our third goal is based around, I kind of hyphenated this one, it's both SEL and MyCap. So as Mr. O'Brien graciously gave me kudos for, which I definitely don't deserve them, but the MyCap process we talked about last year at school committee, it's a great little building block for these students. The MyCap is, it's basically it basically stands for a personal career and academic plan throughout, basically from 6th grade through high school, through completion of high school. So that way the students have an idea as to kind of where they're going, how they're going to get there. I remember when I was in 6th grade, I wanted to be Larry Bird and Dominique Wilkins, okay? When I was in high school, I no longer wanted to be Larry Bird or Dominique Wilkins, and things changed. So we get to see that progress through the MyCap process. So, when they're younger, they might have these idealizations of where they want to go, what they want to do, where they want to be, and hopefully as they get through high school, we start to fine-tune that. We're implementing this year. Some of the things that we are working on already is we're creating time in the schedule essentially, where the students will attend is what we would call a specialized advisory period. We're looking at the middle of the month during this time. We're looking to have several of these throughout the year. Freshmen are going to start off in the SEL realm because, again, they're freshmen, they're new to the school, they're still progressing, they're still learning. Hopefully, what's been nice to see is, freshmen usually step up pretty early in the year, okay, because they understand that they're now with the juniors and the seniors, and they see these upperclassmen, and they see what they're doing, and they use them as role models. And we want to get them there, but they still have a lot of the social emotional learning that they need to navigate in order to get there. So for grade 9, we do start off with a social emotional piece, and we continue on that social emotional piece through grade 9, just to kind of get them into a growth mindset, into a safe space where they're ready to make that next move of, okay, I kind of have an understanding of who I am right now. Now, how can I apply this moving forward? So that's our idea with 9th grade. Our 10th grade, we start into skill exploration, career assessments, interviewing skills. The plan is to do a career panel where we are planning to invite some members of the public into the high school to run a career panel because let's just admit it, that K to 12, the number one career that they all see is a teacher. That's what they see.
They see lots of teachers.
They see a lot of teachers. They see a lot of them. And they don't understand. Teaching is a wonderful profession. It's a great profession. It's very rewarding. However, it's not for everybody. And not everybody's built, has those innate skills. So we're hoping to bring in a career panel to kind of talk about various things, various directions, where to go, and progress from there through that process. And if that goes well, then we're hoping to maybe even push that a little bit further, but we want to see how that goes first. And
I have a question.
Yes.
In terms of the career panel, I guess we're focusing on like all different types of careers, not just college bound, correct?
100%.
Perfect.
Yep.
There's many ways to be successful in life.
Yep. Exactly.
Love
So,
that.
Yep. Grade 11. Grade 11 students are typically starting to get employed, so we're going to be looking at employability skills. What can you give to that entry-level position? Yeah, I mean, I made mention of this at my open house, and I'll hold true to it today. Whether that first job is a Dunkin' Donuts, a Hannaford's, Market Basket, Walmart, that's typically a teenager's first look into getting a paycheck from somebody that isn't named mom or dad. So we want to go through what skills do you actually possess at this point, and how can you apply them. Some of our students will be better at some manual labor. Some of our students will be better at, working as like a stock person, or perhaps they're working, helping get their coffee, or, get their daily muffin or something like that. All these require certain base level skills in some way, shape, or form. So, for our grade 11 students, we're going to be working, looking at that area, as well as resume writing, interview skills, and also the career panel to work with them, because they're getting to that next point. And obviously, grade 12 comes into place. Once we're at that point, we start talking more about our financial literacy, the money you're getting versus the money you're spending.
Yep.
Yeah, so we have that embedded into this as well, because I know that's been a hot topic, and we definitely wanted to make sure that when a student leaves Douglas High School, they have been at least exposed to all of these things. What they can take out of it, they're going to take out of it. We're hoping that they can take, they can come out of it and say, you know what? If they go to a college, for those of you who went to college, you might remember going into that campus center and seeing 3 banks lined up, a MasterCard, a Visa card, and an American Express card, and say, hey, come apply for this card for 30% and a $50 annual fee. I'll give you this pack of gum. And the student always like, oh, I'll take the pack of gum free, I'm kind of hungry. So, and then they get locked into this, and then they get into trouble financially through that. So we're hoping to at least provide them with these, these skills and these touch points, so that way we can hopefully help them out, as they progress through life, okay? And they might not remember, oh, thank goodness, Mr. Hillman taught me, that I shouldn't apply for this or that or the other thing. They might not remember that specifically, but they'll be like, I feel like there's a red flag here. As long as they can say something like that, and they have some basis of knowledge of why they might be tentative towards something like that. So, so that's one of our bigger goals as far as like our focus points, is to make sure that every Douglas High School graduate has those skills. So, last but not least is family engagement and community engagement. I apologize, but I will not be at the coffee shop with Mr. O'Brien. But we started this also during open house as well. I surveyed the audience during my brief gathering in the first 15 minutes as to what do they prefer. I mean, yeah, I can send out an email every day if you want, sometimes twice a day. I have a Twitter. I post on Twitter. We have SMORE that we post our weekly information on. We have these avenues. When we talked about it as an administrative team, we would talk about it with some of our parents. Some of our parents are younger than we are, so they have different points of view than we do. For me, I'm part of the Facebook generation, which means that according to the children, I'm old. And according to some parents, I'm old. You know, to be honest, I was part of the MySpace generation.
Still older.
But you see how it transitions. You know, it starts with MySpace, it goes to Facebook, it goes to Instagram, it goes to TikTok, it goes to Snapchat, it goes to this, that, and the other thing. So, so I am looking for feedback from parents as to what is the platform that they really want. Okay, I mean, if they want the emails, if they want the Twitter, if they want to keep it at that, okay, we'll keep it at that. Do they want me to post a 30-second video of me doing something, you know, on TikTok with all the highlight information that they need? Do they need that? Do they need the Instagram photo of what's going on? Like, so again, like Mr. O'Brien said, like others have implied, we meet them where they're at, right? And all of our high school students typically have electronic devices right in their pockets. How do we get the information out to them? How do we get the information out to their families? How do we best serve them that way? And in all honesty, whatever we have to do in that aspect, we're going to use the data and we're going to make it work. So
What did they say at open house?
actually, I was very surprised, and you might not like this.
It's all email.
A lot of them said they really liked the email. I said, okay, but that aside, I know that's not for everybody. So there has to be additional modes and additional methods. So we'll be looking to start pushing those out shortly, once I collect all that data and meet with school council in the next week or so. So.
Awesome.
How many staff openings do you have?
We have one. We have one para position that is open.
And you're not seeing the same, I guess I'm thinking about his 8th grade, we get a little bit of drop off. You're not seeing the same class size issues up here.
So up here, it works a little differently because a lot of it's subject matter based.
Yeah.
So I might have an art class of 20 students. I might have a cooking class of 20 students, but I might have, I might have a financial literacy class of 15. And I might have another art class, let's say, we'll call it sculpture. Let's say I have sculpture, I might have 7. So because in high school, when we get into those electives, it starts to become more separated like that. We started out this year, our largest class size was 25, and that was one of our math classes. And we tried everything in our power to kind of adjust that and ease that stress in that specific class. We've been able to ease it a little bit, but not to the point where we are happy or comfortable. It's just kind of how the schedule evolved. But there is support in that class. There is, I think we have great teachers in that class. So we're, we're doing our best with that, but at the same time, with high school, it does fluctuate a little differently. When you get a bubble of students as freshmen, so if we inherit that 8th grade bubble next year, assuming we inherit that entire 8th grade bubble, we would offer, let's say, an additional ELA 9 class versus an two ELA 10 class. So if we had, let's say, 4 ELA 10 classes and 4 ELA 9 classes, but I needed a 5th ELA 9 class, then maybe I reduce the ELA 10 class and have that support the ELA 9. So we have more flexibility in that realm that way, which other schools don't typically have. Based off of the structure.
The other thing tricky in a small school is we have so many, high schools have so many singletons, so there's so many classes that we only offer one section of. because of enrollment. So you might only have 15 kids that sign up, so you can't do multiple sections. So there are only 7 periods in a day, and if you have 15 singletons, there's only so many places you can move students to.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I just, the mom in me, can we just do all Instagram instead of having half the district on Twitter and then all the kids on Instagram? That's just,
Are you on Instagram?
I am.
Is anybody else on the panel on Instagram?
Yes.
I am, but I'm so old. I'm not on Twitter. I can't.
I'm on all.
I do
I'm
all
not on
of them.
TikTok. I will say
I'm
that
not on
one.
TikTok either.
Ms. Brooks?
I got them all.
Yes, I got them all.
I think what you're doing with the literacy, the financial literacy, and the career-ready stuff is so, so important, because you're setting the kids up, you're taking what they've used, right, hopefully learned in school, all the way up through, and then applying it to the real world. And I'm ashamed to say, like, I was really confused when I entered the real world. I was like, I don't understand interest. I have to pay these things back. Like, I had no idea. And I ran into trouble, of course, right? At a young age, like most kids do. And it's a real learning curve that a lot of kids could avoid if they were just taught in school these things that they actually use, you know? I don't ever use accounting. I couldn't even tell you what I learned in accounting. I can't even spell depreciation. But I can tell you now about interest, and I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have made certain decisions if I knew how interest or compound interest works. It would have been really, really nice to know. So I applaud you, I applaud the district for making this a priority. I'm really proud of that. I think that's awesome.
Please don't applaud me. If I'm going to give any credit, it would be to Jared Stand and Krista Petrelli.
All the people.
And because they're the 2 faculty members that have really spearheaded this with our guidance department, Mrs. Carpenter, Mrs. O'Brien, and Mrs. Ryan. They're the ones that really spearheaded this, so please, if anyone's getting credit, it's them. So,
Well, thank you to them and
Yes.
to you and to everybody.
so.
Huge. Especially with a senior that just graduated last year and let me get a credit card, Mom.
Because we all got the free sweatshirt with the credit card.
Yes, we did.
Right?
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
Patriots
Yes, we
blanket.
did.
I think I signed up for the pack of gum, just saying.
I even bought that.
Why not?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So again, that brings, to conclusion, my report. And as we said along, we celebrate the good, but we also talk about where we need to grow and where we need to do better. Last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, Dr. Rosenthal talked about our special education audit and where we have to go for that. We highlighted here today, the fact that we're doing some work with financial literacy. We talked today about typing, and it was interesting in looking at some of the data where you start in the 2nd grade, you look at the open response questions in 2nd grade, and you see how low they are. And then you see as every year the kids progress, the scores go up and up and up. So, talking to some middle school teachers about typing, they're like, yeah, the kids all have the Chromebooks, but the majority of what they did was ST math and programs, but never any fingers to keyboard. So Mr. Haynes is looking at doing some stuff through library and doing some programming through typing in there. Mr. O'Brien's looking at doing some programming in one of his enrichments coming up, I think 2nd or 3rd cycle, but we're looking at doing that. But we learn from our mistakes, we take feedback, and we try to do better. But today we also celebrate too, because you have to celebrate as well too. The work's never done. There's always something you can do, but it was great to see today, listening to the school improvement plans of where we're going, listening to how different people are engaging with the community differently. Bob loves the coffee idea. Not all people love the coffee idea. The postcard is great. Ken's angling it through, having conversations around attendance. But again, you go back to the accountability where here's our benchmark for 23. Here's where they moved the goalpost for 24. And we were 1 percentage point from being away from being the top 15% in the Commonwealth. So the work that we're doing is amazing work. It's happening in the trenches. It's the teachers, it's the parents, it's the ABs, it's the students that are doing that work. And I just want to celebrate that and be thankful and grateful for all their work. But also put the caveat, as I say to them, there's more work that needs to be done. So that's it for me tonight.
Thanks so much. Over to the school committee and subcommittee, the accounts payable report.
Okay. So I reviewed a bunch of stuff, including warrant 11 SCH 25 with a warrant date of September 12th, 2024. There are 4 batch numbers for a grand total of $44,450.41. And there was nothing out of the ordinary. Also reviewed warrant 10 SCH 25 with a warrant date of September 5th, 2024. There were 4 batch numbers for a grand total of $19,233.55. Again, nothing out of the ordinary. Everything looks great.
Thanks. Moving on to the consent agenda and reviewing of the September 18, 2024 meeting minutes. If no one has any issues with this, I'd be looking for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Julie makes the motion, second by?
Teresa.
Second by Teresa. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Thanks. Next was the policy update of AC and ACAB, third reading, and we're going to do a vote on it.
So I have Dr. Rosa Thalif to come up. I know we've already reviewed this. This is our third time. As we said, we have to do 3 readings on all policy changes and additions, so we provide enough notice for people to know that we're changing policy. But, and this came, as we said, this came from our attorney and their language, so that's where we're at.
Any questions? Not having any questions, I'd be looking for a motion, please.
I move to adopt the changes to school committee policy AC, additionally removing policy ACAB as policy information is covered in the new policy AC.
Motion made by Teresa, seconded by?
Meg.
Seconded by Meg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Okay, thank you so much.
Madam Chair, can we go back just to the meeting minutes? I know we just approved it, but I just realized that there was an error in them.
Okay.
So, and it's partially my fault that night. When we discussed under the raising of the, from the 25 to 50 to 35, what's the word, dissented? Did not agree, but I said aye in doing it, and then Teresa corrected me. So it was a 3-1 vote.
Okay.
So we'll approve as amended.
Approve as amended. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstained? Thank you so much.
Thank
We'll celebrate the DESPA contract one
Yes,
more
we
time.
did.
Donna? We're celebrating the DESPA contract one more time. All right, all right.
It is.
All right.
Thanks so much. All right, and last but not least is the school business and operations manager's report.
So I do not have any transfers or reclassifications this evening, but I am presenting the FY 2023, and yes, it took a while for the auditors, and the same problems everybody else is having. But anyway, we finally got it. So if you look at, this is for the student activity fund audit at the high school, you will see consistently that all procedures were performed without exception, which means that, it came out perfectly fine. But I do want to say a great big thank you to Elaine McDermott, she just retired.
Yep.
And for years, I worked with Elaine. And she was steadfast. She was the administrative assistant to the principal, for those who don't know. But she was steadfast with working with, the principal, all the advisors and everything. And if she ever had a question, she asked me to make sure everything was kept in line and did a great job. So I want to say a big thank you to Elaine McDermott and wish her well in her retirement. She really deserves a fabulous retirement. I hope she has a fabulous retirement. But, you can't do it without people keeping your eye, especially student activity funds.
Yes.
Because that's the one thing, there's only a couple things. There's one that I know of on the municipal side and this one on the school side where the law allows you, authorized the principal to have a checking account. which is, and there's only one that I know of on the municipal side where that's allowed as well. Typically, that is never allowed, it's only a town treasurer, okay? So that's why they have strict compliance guidelines, that's why you're required to have a manual. But more importantly than the guidelines, the audit and the manual, is the people that are in the trenches on the front line that are really keeping everybody, you know, notifying them, keeping them really in line with, and it needs the support of the principal as well, which he got as well. So I wanted to throw out a big thank you to Elaine. So, but we're very happy it came out fine, and we'll soon be doing the FY '24. Hopefully it will be done a lot sooner. But that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you so much. And it was a great, I did read it. It's a good that we didn't have any findings, because that's huge. So, very good.
Yeah.
So, anything else? Any topics not anticipated? I'd be looking for a motion.
I move to adjourn tonight's meeting at 8:10.
Motion made by Beth, seconded by?
Teresa.
Seconded by Teresa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Thank you so